Hello and welcome to the latest Arcade Attack podcast. Adrian here, I'll be your host. I'll be joined with my knights of the round. We've got good old Dilsey.
Yay.
We've got Rob.
Oh.
And is Keith here?
No.
Keith's not here. Sorry, Keith. Guys.
He took the night off.
Oh no.
Sorry, that would be the last.
Oh, God.
That would be the last bad pun for this
That's
episode.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about you guys, and this is probably going to go against what Rob just said there, but podcasting can be quite hungry work. So I bought a little treat for us today. I bought a packet of biscuits. Can you see that, Rob?
Yes, they're Garibaldi biscuits.
Garibaldi biscuits. Would you like a Garibaldi biscuit?
I wouldn't mind a Garibaldi biscuit, actually.
Well, while Dylan's, and even Rob, help yourself, enjoy Garibaldi biscuits, which I can't stand personally, can't stand the things, I think they're disgusting, but there you go, just my personal opinion. So I won't be eating any Garibaldis, but
Strange
enjoy.
tangent, but...
Oh yeah. The summer of 1992, or actually a few months before, I think I remember quite well, my mum came down, I think I was eating breakfast, me and my two brothers, like, oh, we've got our holiday booked for the summer. I was like, oh, is it Haven Holiday? Is it Pontins? She was like, no. Butlins. She said, I'm taking you to Butlins.
We love Butlins.
I've been to Butlins but once in my life, in the summer of 1992. Have you guys ever been to Butlins before?
No.
No. Our mouths are full of biscuits.
Garibaldis, yep. I've got two really big memories from my holiday at Butlins. And my mum's probably thinking, what a waste of money if these are your two memories. One of them, I was, wow, I couldn't believe it. This Butlins in Bognor Regis had a cinema on site.
That's mad.
Cinema on site.
That's cool. Like, I remember when I was a kid going to, like, a hotel and they, like, had a little kids bit at a cinema in, but,
Well, this was a proper cinema. This is like one of the, not a huge screen cinema, one of those smallish cinemas.
yeah, this was also a proper cinema.
Oh, alright. Fair enough.
Anyway, tell us about the Butlins cinema.
But, did your cinema show a certain film called Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey?
Probably not, because I was there in the 80s, but,
I know, and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey was not released actually until early 1992. I think Butlins kind of got the rights maybe a few months later to show it in their cinemas, but still, it wasn't on VHS quite then, was it? So I hadn't seen that film before, so I remember watching that film, and yeah, it's not brilliant, is it?
I think it's better than the original.
Oh wow, there you go, controversial view.
I'll watch anything Bill and Ted, so...
There's going to be a third one coming out.
I've got it here.
I've seen the... Yeah.
What's the name? I've got
They're
it
looking
here.
pretty old now.
Well, I know the original concept years ago for the third film was that they were going to be going to hell.
Well, I've got here, it's called Bill and Ted Face the Music. I'm not sure if that's...
Bill, did he become like a massive, director or producer? Is that where he's been the last...
Yeah, Alex
30
Winter, yeah, I think he's behind the scenes now in production.
Yeah.
But he was in a few 80s stuff. He was in Lost Boys.
The night, he hasn't been in, not like Keanu, who's stayed as an actor,
No.
isn't it?
Well, few are.
Few are. I think there's some Bill and Ted video games, isn't there, out of interest? I never really played them, but...
No, I don't know.
Maybe I'm talking rubbish, but there you go. I know there's a cartoon. But anyway, I'm not really here to talk about that film, but that's one of the big memories. The other big memory I thought was the arcade at Butlins. This ain't no shabby 5-year-old arcade cabinets. They had the brand spanking latest stuff in 1992.
But if it had been, it would have stuff like Space Harrier and Hang On and stuff in it.
Yeah, true.
Instead, I would have taken a 5-year-old arcade. But
No,
yeah,
I know, but...
I get it. So it's got all the brand new...
And I saw games there that I'd never seen in my life. I'm talking the latest Sega sitting cabinets. I don't know what they were back then, really. There was only one cabinet I really remember playing properly.
Virtual
though.
Racing? Would that have been around?
I think that was a little bit later.
Was that 93?
I just remember thinking, wow, some of these games, this is incredible. And it's a big arcade, much better than Haven or Pontins could provide. I'll tell you that for free. Whoosh. But there was one game that it stood out for me, and I'd never heard of it before. And actually, I've only played it again quite recently. And I'm sure I've kind of mentioned it earlier if you can read, you know what it's about. Knights of the Round.
Yep, and I've got to say ahead of time, Knights of the Round is one of the few games that Adrian and I both love. There's been no arguments in this kind of episode.
And that's where Dylan's got to argue with us.
I'll argue with both of you.
No, Rob, I'll ask you about your views in a minute, but I remember just thinking, wow, You know, and this is before I had a Mega Drive, I believe, and I was like, you know, side-scroll and beat 'em up, so I've seen Streets of Rage and whatnot, never really played it. But Knights of the Round, obviously I played Golden Axe on the Amiga, but this was like, wow, this is amazing. The graphics were insane, free player action. Oh, and I just remember, I didn't even have to play it, I just loved watching people play it. And I remember my parents were like, oh, don't waste your money in arcades, but, you know, I managed to get a few pounds out of them to have a go. So out of all the arcades at Butlins, that was definitely one I played the most. But again, I was happy just to watch people play. It was an amazing game. And it kind of, it's one of those weird arcades that it stayed with me for ages. And just recently, well, I say recently, the last 2 or 3 years when I got my Retro Pi, whacked on MAME, played some arcades, and I was really happy to see the arcade version was there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, baby. It was also released on another on another platform.
Yeah, the SNES, right?
The SNES, that's right. What is your views, Rob? How do you remember playing this certain game?
Well, I think, why don't you go into a little bit like what the game's about for anyone who hasn't played it, and then I'll
Probably
go
fair.
into it afterwards.
Probably fair. So, in Knights of the Round, you play the role of 3 knights from the Arthurian legends. We're talking the Knights of the Round legends. The 3 characters who you played, do you remember the names, Rob?
Yeah, Lancelot.
Ooh. He prefers the word Sir at the start.
Sir Lancelot.
Sorry, Sir Lancelot. King Arthur.
Good.
And Sir, what, was it Gawain, the third one?
Nah, smelly old Percival.
Sir Percival, thank you. I've got a little backstory on the 3 characters. We'll go into a bit more detail later. So, when do you think this was released on the arcades? When do you think they actually made Knights of the Round? I've got the exact date here. I doubt you're going to get spot on.
Early 90s, 91?
Yeah, correct. Right at the end, it was released on the 27th of November, 1991. It was not released on the SNES until quite a few years later.
94, 95, wasn't
Yeah, 94, spot on, yeah. It is a 2D hack and slash side-scroller beat 'em up, similar to Streets of Rage, but, you know, really kind of the Golden Axe kind of look and feel. Who created the game?
Capcom, right?
Capcom, yeah, definitely. And it's just looks brilliant. It's a 1 to 3 classic arcade game. I think it's a brilliant game for mates to play, and I think it's almost like good, honest, mindless fun. I just love it. And I mean, I've got a much better detailed bit of plot here. But Rob, do you want to chip in now? Now we've wetted the old whistle.
Yeah, I gotta say, getting into kind of the mechanics of it, I love this game. I think my favorite scroller and beat 'em up in the arcade, except for the Simpsons game.
Yeah.
And I just think, like, it's terrific. Like, if you haven't kind of played it, it's a kind of it is a bit of a rip-off of Golden Axe. Like, you have 3 characters, and they are red, blue, green kind of color scheme. But, see, what I love about this game is the feel of it.
Yeah.
Like, if you hit someone, it feels like you're hitting them.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I don't think you kind of get that in a lot of games. Like, a lot of kind of, even like the game, like, beat 'em up games that are fun, you don't always get that, like, feel. Like, when you're you're hitting someone with a sword, you get this really cool, like, kind of like sword sound effect.
That's the noise.
And like, when you you can jump on a horse.
Oh.
If like, you knock someone off a horse,
We'll talk about
there's
it
like
later,
this
but
big
yeah.
arrow pointing to the horse. This is jump, and you can jump on the horse, and the horse is going around going, and man,
Good sound.
yeah. And it's great, like, the mechanics are really good, just, it moves so well, and, well, I go into more of the game, I'll let you do
Yeah.
it.
I completely agree though. The sound's brilliant, the sound effects are great. The gameplay just stands out. I completely agree with Rob. It's a brilliant, just fun game. We'll go in a bit more detail later about the development and so forth, but I've got the plot here. Are you ready for this? Read, almost dropped on the floor. So we've got Arthur, or King Arthur. Well, yeah, actually, he's not a king yet, to be fair, who has been training himself to be a great knight. He pulled out the sacred sword Excalibur from the rock. After pulling it out, Arthur realized his destiny was to become the first king of the Britons. Merlin, which I find a bit odd, actually, because you'd think Merlin would be one of the playable characters. He's not, sadly.
He's not exactly known for his fighting skills.
Well, a wizard would be pretty cool in the game, wouldn't it? But there you go. But anyway, Merlin.
You get to beat up some wizards, or magicians.
Magicians. There's a difference. They're card tricks. So Merlin sends Arthur and his 2 closest companions, Lancelot and Percival, to overthrow the evil king and to unite Britain. It's a simple plot. I'm sure there's much more to it than that.
It is the plot of King Arthur, isn't it?
In a nutshell.
To unite the land. So
it is.
it is that.
The gameplay. we'll talk about a bit more about the gameplay here. So it's very similar to other Capcom beat 'em ups, similar to Final Fight. And actually it's very similar to a previous hack and slash fantasy title. Anyone know what it is, what Capcom made just before this? Again, very well received actually. I haven't really played
Hack
that
and
much.
slash.
Yeah. It's got a bit more magical elements to it, I think.
No, Strider was Sega.
Yeah.
That's a really good
Wait a minute. Think about Marvel vs. Capcom. Who's in that? Wait a minute. Isn't the guy from Strider in that Marvel vs. Capcom?
I'm not sure.
I think Strider is US Gold, isn't
But
it?
it's not Strider, I'll tell you that for free.
Hold on.
I can't think of it.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
The King of Dragons.
The king. I know.
There we go.
No, I don't know.
So 7 stages, there's 7 levels to good old Knights of the Round, and each one obviously has its own boss. And a good variety of generic enemies. We'll talk about the enemies in a bit, actually. But obviously they're trying to stop your progress. I have to say that when I played this game, and it's a bit naughty really of me, but I played it on the Retro Pi, so I've kind of got unlimited pound coins. Just press select
I
button.
did the same thing, man. I don't think, we're past it now. We don't
Yeah.
need to put our own money into these machines. We can just enjoy the machines now.
So a lot of the game, actually, you have to rely on, if you really wanted to play the game properly and try and save your pounds, you really have to take advantage of the blocking ability, which is about really timing your attack buttons carefully, which is quite unusual. So it's a bit of strategy in this game. It's not just literally hit, even though the sound is brilliant.
But you can just do that.
You
but
can.
With the blocking is...
The blocking adds, so if you really wanted to play it properly and not waste about I was probably putting about £300 on that of credits I spent.
But the other day when I played it, yeah, something like £100 would have gone into that machine. Because
Yeah,
as far
I
as I didn't even complete it.
I know, right? But the blocking ability takes a little time to get your head around, but it is actually quite a nice little part of the game. But yeah, if you get the block right, the player gains a few seconds of invincibility, which you can obviously counter-attack. If no one strikes the player's character while holding the block, they will tire and drop their guard, making them vulnerable to attack. So blocking is vital in certain cases, especially with the bosses, which can be quite tough actually later on.
I like the first boss.
Oh yeah,
It's a big knight called Scorn.
that's right. I've
And
got a
like-
list. Yeah.
And like, if you're not hitting him, like he'll put his arms by his side and go ho 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 ho.
Rob's got the sound effects and the voices spot on today, by the way. That is exactly it. Yeah, I like Scorn as well. He's a bit arrogant though, isn't he?
Yeah.
You're knocking down a peg or two, I'll tell you that for free. Yeah, so there is actually a desperation attack. I like this term actually. What do I mean by desperation attack in this game?
It's like kind of a frenzy thing where you just hit everything around you.
Yeah, I mean it's an attack that if you press both the attack and jump buttons simultaneously,
Takes off a bit of your health.
You've got you've got a special move each, but it does deplete your health a little bit.
Like Streets of Rage 2.
Exactly.
And on the SNES version, they put it on as like one button. So it's like Streets of Rage 2. You just press the button and you can just do it.
Spot on. And I think in a way, because I knew I got unlimited credits, I think I used these desperation attacks almost every other. No, I didn't, but I used them often. Probably too much. I love.
This version gives you a lot of credits, though.
Yeah,
when I
actually.
was playing that,
Yeah.
I thought you have about 3 continues. You have about 9 continues in it,
Yeah, actually,
which is really good form actually, because Capcom could have just said, "No, we'll give
No.
you 3 continues.
Free.
You'll get past the first couple of stages, then die."
I meant to. So, Dylan, you played both.
I have.
You played both. So, what's your views actually? Because I've got Rob's
View on
opinion.
the game or view on the conversion.
Let's stick to the game at the moment. Talk about the conversion later.
It's fun, I suppose. What it reminded me of is, in Streets of Rage 2, you get that big old saber off those pirates.
The big sword, you mean?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
That's it. So
The cutlass.
Cutlass. Thank you. It's a bit like that. When you get that and you kind of like go around like slashing everyone up, Knights of the Round is just a game where you can just do that.
Yeah.
And it's one of my most fun bits of Streets of Rage 2. So
So it found your most funnest element in Streets of Rage and just bottled it and times it by a million.
And it has got that like Rob said about the collision detection. It does have that kind of satisfying. When you're hitting things. We'll talk about this in a future podcast. But one thing I don't like about Streets of Rage 3 is because it's quicker in the way you throw punches. You sometimes don't feel like you're connecting with the enemies. Whereas Streets of Rage 2 and Knights of the Round, you really feel like you're hitting them. And I think that.
I think that's similar
There's a lot to be
to
said
Double
for that.
Dragon was quite poor at that hit detection sometimes.
Oh.
And I quite like Double Dragon. I'm sure we're going to do a pod on that one day because I'll defend it.
The
But that is
sequels
one
got
of,
worse. I mean, it just like the longer Double Dragon went on, the worse the collision detection
I think
got.
also Final Fight wasn't really great for that.
Yeah, I think obviously they made Final Fight before this game. I think they took it to the game. Yeah, they took it to another level actually, and I really you know that
Final Fight arcade, satisfying.
Yeah.
Also, another element of the game I think we haven't quite got into, I don't know if you were going to, but the power-up system.
Oh, we're going to talk about the leveling up system.
The leveling up, which you never
That's
see in a
soon.
beat-em-up game, really. But I know, okay, we'll leave that for...
Well, just talk about the horses for a little bit, which I think are brilliant. And I think the SNES version, the horses are in it, but not as much, because I imagine that takes a lot of memory and a lot of power. But in the arcade version, it's not, I wouldn't say it's every level, but about maybe 5 levels in the game. Don't quote me on that, but there's a chance to ride a horse.
I couldn't turn the horse.
Well, you can.
Can you?
Yeah, you can turn the horse. I think you have to always press both buttons, like the desperation attack. If I'm correct, I might be wrong,
okay.
but you can definitely turn the horse.
Because it was ridiculous. Like, get on the horse, and he's facing to the right. Right, so there's all the enemies behind you, and they're on the left. Like they're behind you, like you can't turn around. So I had to like moonwalk past them on the horse, and then just like slash them up that way.
You'd be good at the Olympics doing the equestrian, wouldn't you?
Oh my god, Pippa Funnel's got nothing on me.
Look, everyone likes Golden Axe when you can go on your different crazy beasts and dragons. That's brilliant. But the horse, these are some big shy horses, aren't they? That's amazing. You feel so powerful.
They are big horses. Like Sunset Riders, the horses are big. But these are like big horses.
But it doesn't seem stupid
horses.
big. They just seem like, this is a mighty steed.
Yeah, the horses are big and they're square.
Yeah.
They
good
do
way.
seem a bit roidy. they're a bit roidy. These
I just
horses.
love it. I think it's brilliant when you're on a horse though. I can't explain it. It's just it's such a good element of the game.
I last about 5 seconds before I get knocked off it though, so I'm good.
But I think that's one of the elements I think makes a good game into in this case a great game. There's a few in this game I think that really makes it a few additional notches. I've played it a lot recently. When I'm playing my RetroPie, I want to play some quick arcade games with my sons, for example. This is one of them I go to often. You know?
It's so easy to pick up.
It's
perfect for.
It's perfect, and I'm playing with my son Tate, who's 7 years old, but I don't think that's properly appropriate. But there's not loads of blood or anything. It's just a hack and slash, fun.
It's all
Well,
what compared to what kids are exposed to these days?
Well, exactly.
I think they're okay with a bit of pixel blood. I think it'll be all right.
And Rob's like the setting, the medieval setting. There's always something about it I like. And in a way, this is a Japanese game, isn't it? You can tell it's Japanese, but it's obviously. You can see they took a lot of effort to try and get that sort of British feel.
Yeah.
So you got that Japanese mixed with British kind of feel. I love it. I think it's really, really.
There's not many Japanese British games, really.
No. Maybe that's why it resonated with me when I first saw it. It was like, wow, this is a game set in our country. We've all heard about Excalibur. We all like knights and castles, and I used to visit a lot of castles growing up, and I thought just playing a game in this setting was very refreshing. So.
Yeah, like obviously when I was playing it, it wasn't in this country, but I played the arcade game quite a lot when I was a kid, and I thought the setting was really cool.
Oh, brilliant.
Like obviously a much more exaggerated, like setting the whole kind of Arthurian kind of thing where you're going through villages and like you got villages scurrying away, a bit like Golden Axe, but but it felt, I don't know, the graphics are so good, like it's so crisp and colourful. It's not like grey like Golden Axe or anything.
Even on the SNES conversion, I think a lot of the effects and things that couldn't come across, but it just looks really, really great.
It feels like a little bit similar, the colour scheme, to Golden Axe 2, but I think a lot better than Golden Axe 2.
Oh yeah. Yeah, way better.
But Golden Axe on the arcade was better than Golden Axe on the Mega Drive, for example, wasn't it?
Yeah, but there was a pretty straight conversion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, we'll talk about the SNES version later, but I think the conversion's pretty good, actually.
It's almost, the sprites are a little bit smaller, but it's pretty much there. And like I said, there's a few features and things in the background.
Things they diluted a bit, but it's a good conversion, truth be told. Let's talk about the characters and the leveling up system, which I think is brilliant as well. I wasn't massive into RPGs back then, but the fact that you could make your characters stronger throughout the game really stood out for me as well.
Yeah.
You know, I love the idea that when you played this game with your character, you can change the look and feel of that character throughout the game.
Yeah, because if you kind of hit certain enemies, if you hit barrels, like they uncover treasure.
Yeah.
You pick up the treasure, you get more points. You get more points, obviously, the more people you kind of beat, kill, whatever. You beat the boss, you get more. You finish the level, you get more. And like there are kind of, if you reach certain numbers of points, it actually says how many points are on screen.
It tells you how many points to get to your next level.
And then like you level up and your sword gets bigger and you get this flash armor. And I don't know, like, does it make a big difference for the player?
You know what? Probably not. Probably not as much as you probably should. But the fact that you can literally just change, you can change on the screen straight away, which I think is quite funny actually, or quite clever. So you can be wearing this silver armor and all of a sudden just change to gold. Well, what's happened? Oh, I've leveled up.
Yeah, like you get kind of partial armor first of all, like on the shoulders or whatever, and it just gets bigger and bolder.
Cool. Shall I go through a little bit of each character and how they kind of level up a little bit? And,
Go on.
Yeah, so we've got good old Arthur, the main protagonist. He's probably the most well-balanced character overall. He's kind of your bog standard medium around, edges. He's medium speed, medium power, and his weapon is the sword Excalibur, of course. So his special attack is a powerful slashing blow. So a good kind of, it's a good sort of powerful attack there. His initial armor wears just chainmail and leather armor, but as you gain levels, his Excalibur sword becomes stronger, and he eventually gets more body armor, later silver, and finally gold, which is awesome.
Do you have I can't remember, does he have a cool beard?
I think he has a beard actually later on, I believe you're right. And actually, he's the best character on horseback as well, apparently. He apparently, that's pretty good, isn't it? The horses react differently to each character. So, I mean, when I play the game, I have to say,
That's subtle, because I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Maybe that was why you couldn't turn around.
Yeah, they can't turn around the horse. No, because Lancelot's my favourite.
Oh, is he?
I was like, maybe Lancelot can't turn the horse around.
Tell us about Lancelot.
Lancelot is a talented swordsman, and he's been travelling all over the world to find a worthy king he should serve.
But he can't turn horses around.
Yeah.
And a worthy king whose wife he can shag.
Easy, partner.
Not in this game. Not in this game. It's not implied.
In the film Excalibur, that's what happens.
What's Lancelot's big strength in this game?
It's fast, right?
The speed, yeah, he's definitely the fastest.
And he has that lush mane of blonde hair.
I think he's got a bigger reach, actually, because I played as all three. Like, his sword seems like it goes further across the screen.
He looks like he should be in Poison. He's got that hair.
He looks cool, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but he's not the strongest, but he's definitely the fastest. And I quite like, actually, his special attack, the jumping kick. I don't know if you tried that.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really a fan?
No, I just stayed on the ground.
Just stayed on the ground. But he's got a great... What's his weapon and what's his sword? You mentioned it earlier, actually.
Swordy Sworderson.
It's a saber.
It's a saber.
Yeah.
He's got the saber.
When you start, you wear a nice blue tabard with a yellow cross. In your eventual level ups, you again gain plate armor and a broader saber. So as you get bigger and more powerful, you get a better sword, and you just look cooler, I think, overall. Right, Percival. Who's old Percival then?
He's like the village idiot who's a bit strong.
Oh, he is burly though. I would say he's burly.
He's big burly man.
I've got here, he's the son of a blacksmith, is a strong warrior with a gentle heart.
He's like Max out of Streets of Rage 2.
Yeah.
Doesn't like the game say something like he's really well built?
Yeah.
He's rarely or really.
No, REALLY. Like it's like, oh, he's well built.
He's like, oh, he's well built.
Well,
I saw that when I was kind of like doing a refresh online.
Yeah.
I thought, huh.
You're like,
Interesting.
do you know what?
You're like, Percival's the guy for me.
I like this because I think the Japanese translation of this game, there's some issues with it, and we'll talk about some of the character names later.
There's really funny spelling mistakes.
There's some really, and that adds to it in a way.
Yeah.
I think it adds to the charm.
Yeah,
in a way.
definitely.
Yeah. All right, it is Percival. So what? He doesn't have a sword. What does he have instead?
An axe,
A
right?
battle axe.
Just like Gilius Thunderhead,
Yeah, exactly. So
who also wears green.
well, yeah. He's by far the strongest character.
It wasn't even subtle, Capcom.
No, I
you've
know.
literally just ripped off Golden Axe.
Exactly. He's good though. He's a good, strong character. He lacks agility. But actually, I like he can actually dash by tapping the joystick forward twice. Which is, yeah.
Just like Max from Streets of Rage.
Just like Max and Streets of Rage, definitely. He's got a giant swing as well by pressing the attack button while dashing. So it's a good little move. I like this. At first, Percival's blonde hair and light armor with green trousers. Eventually, I think it's the
He
stress.
gets all the armor and stuff.
But I think it's the stress. He becomes bald.
Oh, I didn't even know.
If you keep leveling up, you lose all your hair and you grow a big beard.
Hello.
Yeah, so that's Dylan really. So level one, you're
When I've been
luscious.
leveling up, I lose my hair.
You had luscious blonde hair, Dylan, at one point, but the levels of life have got to you.
Do you remember when I tried to dye my hair blonde?
Yeah.
And it went ginger.
You reminded me of Percival a little
And
bit.
I looked like a Duracell.
Yeah. You did.
Good times.
No, I don't remember that.
Why
Was
don't
that
you
was
remember-
that was
you
away?
were up in Norwich, I think. I went Whenever I came back to Croydon from university, you weren't here. So
I remember Keith's frosted tips.
Oh yeah. Keith.
Just like Pacey in Dawson's Creek.
Keith.
Yeah,
he's not even here to defend himself.
No, that's mean. But good old Percival loses all his hair, but he becomes stronger, and his armor, and actually you can see his chest towards the end. I think he's got a bare chest with a little bit of plate on his shoulder. I think.
So basically, he goes from looking like Triple H in the 90s to Triple H today.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. Look, I love it. And actually, when I was playing the game, I was quite proud of myself because I remember completing the game recently with my son. I was like, "Oh, look, I've got to level 12." I assumed maybe there was a level 10 might be the peak. I was like, "No, you can keep leveling up." And then I watched the playthrough, and I was like, "Actually, there's some people that got to like, what do you reckon level I saw some people get up to?"
Is it something ridiculous? Or?
Well, I saw someone got up to level 16. I was like, "What? How is this possible?" I thought I got all the treasure and. I killed all the enemies. I don't understand how...
They cheat to get like more points?
Well, maybe because it's one player and they could just take all the treasure, possibly.
Yeah, it could be.
Possibly. But I'm not sure what the highest level is for each character. It might depend if it's 1 or 3 players, truthfully. But I got to about level 12, and I assume that's the highest level. I don't know if you could... Well... If my armor would get any better, if that makes sense, I reckon there's probably a cut-off point.
They'll turn into RoboCop at the end. They just keep on going.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't there a game where a Moonwalker? That was the level up. You turn into a robot.
Yeah. You turn into the Moonwalker robot. Don't you?
Yeah, that's definitely There's, like I said, there's 7 stages, and they got a good smorgasbord of enemies.
Smorgasbord! I like a smorgasbord, dude.
I love the enemies in this game. We'll talk about the bosses in a minute, but do you remember some of the names for the enemies? I like the names.
There's like Soldier and Magician.
Yeah, there's Soldier and
But
Magician.
then like I was watching it and there's one, his name is called Buster S or something, and it's like, oh, wasn't he in Streets of Rage?
They might have lifted some from Streets of Rage.
Buster S. I've got Birdman.
Garcia.
He's like a knight with that sort of pointy beak sort of helmet.
Oh, nice. Like the video for that Depeche Mode video in my room, I think.
Okay.
It's like everyone like is kind of dressed in those like long tunics and plague mask, like you have a big bird
beak.
That
sounds mad.
But I don't think it was it was one of those knight helmets with the...
Yeah, not the plague mask.
Not the plague one. That'd be better, wouldn't it? We've got Fat Man made an appearance as well in this game. I like this. There's a character, there's quite a few characters called Skywalker.
Oh yes,
2 separate words.
Like Luke. Sorry, I'm just taking over Garibaldi.
That'd be Garibaldi. Sorry. Yeah, keep eating those Garibaldis.
Yeah.
We got Tall Man. Ooh, Tall Man, which is obviously a tall knight. And we got Mad Tigers.
Nice.
They're mad, man. They're mad tigers. I'll quickly go through each of the bosses. Rob mentioned the first boss, Scorn. Do you remember the second boss for level 2?
Some sword dude, right?
Sword dude, and I think they must have made an error with this name. He's just literally called Bradford.
Oh yeah, Bradford. I remember Bradford.
Good old Bradford.
Bradford.
Call
John
me
Brayford.
Yeah, and a level 3 boss, someone called Arlon. I don't remember
What's
that boss.
Arlon like?
I don't remember that boss too well, but all I made a note here saying, whoa, when you fight level 3 boss, you notice that he's got 2 levels of health, 2 lines of health. You notice that later on in the game, the boss's health gets wider and wider until eventually, spoiler alert, final boss, there's 2 whole lines of health. I know, like, what is this?
Like across the screen,
the screen. So you have to chip away not just one line. And I haven't really seen that before in any other games. Phantom. I like this guy. He reminds me of, he's really fast, the fast moving sort of, the fire throwers in Streets of Rage. He looks a bit like that. And I think he throws,
I thought that was a direct rip-off.
Yeah.
Of Streets of Rage 1.
And he darts around the screen. Yeah, it was literally a slightly bigger version of those. I can't remember what they're called in that game.
Actually, when I saw that, I was like, I cannot believe they've ripped that straight off Streets of Rage.
I know, that was a bit of a...
But, there's only so many, different types of character you can have, so...
Yeah, but these guys throw meat cleavers, I noticed, not necessarily fire torches. So there you go. Level 5 boss was called Balbars, and he has a massive massive hammer even.
Jammer!
And actually he can grab you. I like that. He can actually grab you, and I think he can squeeze you. Massive knight. I'm talking huge. The penultimate boss is called Muramasa.
Sounds really Japanese.
Samurai. I don't know why there's a samurai in England, but there you go. He's great though. Again,
that sounds cool.
He's cool. Have you played it through, Rob? Have you actually completed it?
I haven't. I watched a playthrough a while back, but I didn't actually get a chance to do the full thing.
Yeah,
like just before again.
Now, are you ready for the final level? Level 5. I love level 7, I should say. So the final level. There's a mini boss in between actually, and it looks really rude. It looks like some weird sort of torture robot thing. It's got big pink balls. They're spiked mace.
What?
They look really quite. It looks a bit rude, actually.
What?
Like this big contraption. I'm like, this looks like some weird. This you have to look. You have to see it to believe it. But
I'm going to take a look at this after we finish.
oh,
the
that's
episode.
I thought this would be the final boss, but it wasn't.
Is the final boss even sexier?
Actually, I've got the name of this mini boss. The mini boss called the Iron Golem. It's kind of like a cyberpunk lobster robot thingy. Weird looking.
Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah, kind of. Maybe not you have to see it.
Cyborg.
Cyborg. Maybe it's some sort of robot. It's just weird, but I quite
Steampunk?
like it. Are you ready for the final boss? When you finally get to the final boss, have a guess what the final boss is called.
You're going to have to give me some kind of clue.
Well, what you've been eating for the last half an hour?
Hitmonchan. Garibaldi.
The Garibaldi biscuit. Look, the final boss is called Garibaldi.
Garibaldi.
Garibaldi. 2 words. Gary, Gari, space,
And
Baldi, Baldi.
I'm eating him right now.
You're eating Garibaldi right now. Do you want to hear a bit about the Garibaldi biscuit? A bit of history about it.
If you want.
The Garibaldi biscuit consists of currants, squashed and baked between 2 thin oblongs of biscuit dough, a sort of currant biscuit, or a sandwich. In this respect, it has elements in common with the Eccles cake. What was the Garibaldi biscuit named after?
An Italian guy, maybe. I think he was one of, and I'm just taking a punt here.
Yep.
Originally, Italy was lots of different countries, or lots of kind of different, I guess, like principalities or whatever, and there was one guy who united them all, who I'm not sure if that was Garibaldi, if Garibaldi is one of the leaders of these other kind of places, but he was something to do with that, I think.
Good. I think you know more than me, but the Garibaldi biscuit was named after Giuseppe Garibaldi. Garibaldi has one surname, one word. An Italian general and leader of the struggle to unify Italy. Well done, Rob. So Garibaldi made a popular visit to South Shields in England in 1854. The biscuit was first manufactured by the Bermondsey Biscuit Company, Peak Friends, in 1861. In kind of tribute to this famous Italian leader.
Wow.
And the final boss.
And the final boss
is a giant biscuit.
So it's a giant biscuit, and also the guy who unified Italy. So the guy who's unifying Britain is taking on the guy who unified Italy.
I have no idea.
Garibaldi.
Didn't this is Arthurian times? They just have the same name.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I'm just trying to
person.
link it in, man. I'm trying to get,
I haven't played it
in
I haven't played it in a while, but I have the feeling he's probably not a huge biscuit.
He's
either.
not a huge biscuit. He's actually a huge gold knight on a horse. And, like I said earlier, he's got 2 full life bars. So this is an uber knight, tough. And one of his power-ups, it just reminds me of Sonic Booms from Guile. He literally just throws Sonic Booms across the screen. It's a good final boss. I thought there might be a bit more to it, but he looks pretty impressive.
That's really interesting considering Street Fighter 2 came out the same year and was done by the same company as this game.
What? That's strange, isn't
That's
it?
strange. Do you wish Garibaldi was in the Street Fighter games? Can you imagine? Garibaldi.
On a horse.
Yeah. There you go, guys. I've got some, Rob, you got anything to say before I go into some reviews and a bit of feedback on the game and so forth?
No, not particularly.
There's not.
Well, I've said a lot.
You have said a lot. No, yeah.
Shall I say some more?
Dilsey, chip in.
Let me say some more. It's just a good game.
It's just a good game.
It's a good game.
Thanks, that was a really vital contribution.
That's all right.
Not enough biscuits for my liking, but still pretty good.
Thanks for all the biscuits, man.
Obviously, there's not loads of reviews for arcades games out there, really, but I've got a couple here. I've got one from Sinclair User. Apparently, they did a review on the arcade game. So maybe they should stick to what they know, but there you go.
Amazing if there was a Spectrum version of it.
Could you imagine? So Sinclair User, in 1992, they gave the game 78%. They said the overall effect comes in a bit like Golden Axe. So if you like that one, now a couple of years old, then Knights Around is going to be your cup of tea. Otherwise, give it a miss,
I think Sinclair User's being pretty picky, considering.
Yeah.
Hello, Sinclair User.
What do you think All Game Guide gave this arcade version in 1998?
99%.
No, 1998. I'm saying in the 70s.
Lower. They gave it 60%. They said overall Knights Around is a decent game. It will not go down in history as an important game, but it's a solid quarter muncher with some cool mythological characters.
It will munch through your quarters.
60% is very low for something you've called decent and good.
Yeah, I know. I'm not happy. I've got some reviews for the SNES version, just regarding the SNES version. I played both, and I agree with Dylan, actually. They're quite generous, that continues. And I think it's a medium difficulty sort of game on the SNES.
Yeah.
It's, you could get through I don't think I can complete it, truthfully, but not a bad conversion at all. But I thought I might just have a check on eBay, see how much it costs.
How much does it cost?
Yeah. If you want a full PAL version, I'm talking in box.
It must be really rare because
it is rare. I think the Japanese versions cost about 50, 60 quid, and even that's unboxed possibly. But the full PAL version, if you want it mint condition, you're looking at maybe upwards of £200.
Whoa!
So it's quite a rare game on the SNES.
It was not like it. It's not like it was towards the end of its lifetime either, because the NES was still going like 95, 96. It was 94, so it wasn't even. That's really staggering. I guess the arcade machine wasn't as popular as we thought it was over here.
No.
Well, I think maybe in the grand scheme of things, Knights of the Round was kind of overshadowed, partially because of Street Fighter 2. Came out around the same time.
True.
And I think also maybe...
And Streets of Rage and Final Fight, which already had console conversions.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of kind of... That was the kind of peak era of like scrolling beat 'em ups. All the Konami ones, like we've mentioned some of them today. But also Turtles and Sunset Riders, and I just felt like it kind of got lost a little bit.
Yeah, it's one of those games I played a bit of Butlins and just watched it. My mum was like, come on, we got to go on a trip now. Now I'm just going to watch Knights of the Round instead. But I never really saw it again for many years. It wasn't often in the arcades. Do you ever remember?
No, maybe arcade owners over here just didn't order it. Like,
possibly.
I've never seen one in the wild.
I'm pretty sure I have played it, the arcade version, in the last year or two, just because it was an arcade bar at some point.
I would love to play free player because I can't get my free players working on RetroPie. So
the RetroPie will only support like 2 players.
It's a shame because I think with free player that'd be just insane. How good fun that would be. Just a good all round game. Right, I've got some SNES reviews. Rob, do you have something to chip in or?
No, nothing important.
Do you want to hear some SNES reviews of the
then.
SNES version? Obviously, can you imagine? We've got Game Players. Never heard of this magazine, but there you go. But in May 1994, they gave the game 86%. They said...
Is that the German one, Game Players?
I'll take your word for it. They said Knights of the Round may not quite live up to the Final Fight series even, but its lush medieval setting is a welcome change from gritty urban streets.
I prefer to Final Fight.
The wide variety of moves at your disposal also make it exciting to play. If you've always wanted to be a knight in shining armour, here's a good place to start. Oh, good old Game Players. Electronic Gaming Monthly, the EGM.
EGM, we know EGM.
Yeah, but they were a little bit harsher, 76%.
EGM.
I know. They said this is another side-scrolling hack and slash medieval adventure where you can choose from 1 or 3 fighters. The 2-player simultaneous is a big plus, and the bosses are challenging. A good translation of the arcade. A tad harsh, I think. Then
I think it's a great. It's almost an arcade machine on your SNES. I don't know.
I've got one more review. Video games and computer entertainment. 70%.
70%.
I like to say, what? Another Final Fight clone from Capcom? Is that sarcasm there?
It's not a Final Fight clone.
I know. And they said here, this 1 or 2-player medieval hack and slash has weapons and progressive experience levels, but it's essentially the same game as King of Dragons and Legend and Golden Axe and etc, etc, etc.
Oh.
That's mean, isn't it?
I've never even heard of video games and computer
entertainment.
I feel that if we were critics at the time, we might have given it a similar kick in because of what was around.
I don't know. I remember getting a solid 80 to 85% reviews around then.
Because there were just so many other games of its ilk.
There were. Look, we know there's lots of rival ones, and there are a few medieval kind of fantasy-based ones similar, I suppose. But for me, it just stands out. It's a nostalgia, I'd say, but a nice solid game as well. I think it's good fun to play, even today.
Yeah, I think it's terrific. It's not the most varied game in the world, but it is a lot of fun. And when you for this kind of game, an arcade setting, that's what you want.
Would I recommend spending £200 on eBay? Possibly not, but I've got a little card up my sleeve because on September the 13th, 2018, Capcom announced a Capcom beat 'em up bundle, and Knights of the Round was in this bundle, and it was released a week later.
What was it released on?
On the Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and Windows. Do you want to hear the complete bundle for this? That's pretty exciting, actually. We'll have a little guess, actually. What do you think they got in this beat-em-up bundle?
Final Fight.
Yeah.
Final Fight's in there, correct?
I'm guessing everything we've mentioned so far.
Most. Some of them, actually. Yeah, so we mentioned King of Dragons. That's in there. Obviously, Knights of the Round. There's 4 other games. So you get 7 in total. Captain Commando. Can't say I've heard of it.
That's characters in Marvel Capcom, but I've never heard of his actual game.
Oh, I don't know.
That's 1991 game they put in. Warriors of Fate, which I haven't really... I've seen pictures. Looks pretty good. That came out a year after Knights of the Round. Then we've got...
These are all arcade games.
All arcade games, yeah. Apparently, these are all conversions of arcades, so some have been converted to consoles, but this bundle is all arcades. And we've got Armored Warriors, and finally, Battle Circuit. I know. Look, it could be worth picking up if you see it cheap, possibly.
A Capcom bundle on PS4 cheap? I don't think so, man.
Good luck with that.
They're going to charge you like at least 15 quid for that. I don't know.
Well,
I'm quite happy just stick on me old Raspberry Pi over there and
true that. Look, that's me done, really. Have you got like an overall view, a final statement, Rob or Dilsey, before we wrap this up?
I'll be honest, when I first started playing it,
Yeah.
I thought, why is Adrian doing a podcast on this? I actually,
You're almost going to ring me up and say, stop, what are you doing?
I was like, what are you doing? Man, this is just like your standard, your golden axe, your whatever. I'm like, what is it? But then the more I played it, I was like, oh. It was like that kind of like that light bulb moment. I was like, oh.
I see this now. There is
Yeah.
there are little hints. Yeah, because it looks good, and I think you're right. The first level doesn't really stand out that much, but the further you get into the game, and when you start leveling
it's
up,
weird how that first sort of cut of the level is so quick.
Yeah.
Do you know, like when he goes to the edge of the cliff or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell just happened? But the more I played, I was like, I said to Adrian, I played this game. I just keep on
grudgingly,
but, begrudgingly, yeah. And yeah, I've just kind of got suckered. Spent a solid hour playing it, put £100 into it. So yeah, it has that kind of addictive. I'd like to play it co-op.
Yeah, it's really fun playing with people. Actually, I think it adds to the game, the co-op bit of it.
Yeah, I think we need to find an arcade, and I think all 3 of us need to play co-op.
Yeah.
If anyone knows if there's any knocking about in the UK,
we'll have to get our arcade guys to find a machine just so we can.
That's right.
We can solve it. But.
Look, play it if you can. There's a bundle out there now. It could be worth picking up if you see it cheap. Let me know what you think about it. It's a great game.
Yeah,
it's just fun. It's just a fun game. So, look, enjoy Knights of the Round, and I'll see you around.
Have
for the
a
next
good
pod.
night.
Have a good night.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. We really hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get in touch regarding this week's episode or anything else, you can tweet us at Arcade Attack UK, at Keith Barlow 82, and at Arcade_Adriano. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/Arcade Attack UK. Please check out our website at arcadeattack.co.uk for lots of retro gaming goodness, interviews, reviews, features, top 10s, etc. And you can also find all our previous podcasts there. Our podcasts are available to stream from the website and are available to download for free from Stitcher, Podbean and iTunes, where you can also leave us a review and a rating, which we would really, really appreciate. So, until next time, take care and we'll speak to you soon.